go.
I'm gonna be dead down here. Hey, we don't have any USB. Well, I can't get my charger in there, but I'm gonna try to do it. I think I might be able to get it this way, guys. I got a little short.
This option has a plug, needs that thing.
Johnny, busy. How was your day? I mean, a little bit. Also makes it go by fast.
Well, is the appointed time. Call the meeting to order. Everyone would please stand. Councilman Morley will do the invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. If you're joining with me in prayer or a silent moment, dear Lord, we truly thank Thee for this day, and thank You for allowing all us to come out here tonight. There's ones that is here for one reason or another, but at the end of the day, we ask You, Lord, to direct us so that we all can be on one accord. We ask You to continue on blessing us and lead us as a great city, great town, great leaders, great citizen in this community. And we give You the glory and honor in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Would you join me in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Take this time to welcome each of you here tonight. We got a big crowd. Of course, we did not meet in July, and our regular scheduled meetings are held on the second Monday of the month. But last Monday, which was the second Monday, almost all the council was in Williamsburg, Virginia, at a meeting with Electric Cities. So we moved it to tonight. Okay, item number 5 is approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion.
Mayor, if I may, Mayor and Council, I believe that we have one amendment, and it was new business item 1 has been removed.
In item,
So the one you have at your seat is the amended agenda. It was the 2018 sidewalk improvements project that was in the agenda that went out. We have removed that item. So new business 1 will be Eli's Ridge subdivision, lift station, cost participation, and then the other numbers will be renumbered accordingly.
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda with the correction.
I second.
we have a motion and a
I
second
second.
for approval. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now, item 6 is a public hearing. Item number 1 is zoning ordinance text amendment.
Mayor, members of the council, we're honored to have Stephen with us tonight. He hadn't joined us in a while. Brian Jones, our planning director, is out of town at his school, so Stephen has been so gracious as to join us and keep me straight this evening.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. We are here tonight looking at a ordinance text amendment that is proposing a change to the tattooing part of our permitted use table. We had an applicant who requested to amend the permitted use for the general business district for tattooing. It is currently only allowed in the industrial district with a special requirement. The special requirement is a minimum radius of a half mile from any other establishment that has tattooing. Planning and zoning heard this in June and approved unanimously, or recommended approval. And tonight we are having the public hearing. Of course, we made notice of the public hearing in the Daily Reflector as well. And here I'm just showing you some of the red, as you know, is general business, and then the gray is industrial district. This is where, so all of the gray already allows tattoo establishments. Of course, the special requirement prohibits it within a half-mile radius of an existing one. If we allow it tonight, then these other, the yellow spots, yellow stars on the red locations will be allowed. Just to give you an understanding of a half-mile radius, at the potentially proposed location, this is showing a half-mile radius buffer. And then, just to give you another example, on Beacon, here goes another half-mile radius of what would prohibit another tattoo establishment. Just to give you some cities that are comparable, Greenville, Clayton, and Smithfield all have equivalent zones to general business that allow tattoo establishments as well. Tattoo establishments have very strict regulations. The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, they maintain each of these for sanitation and safety and other regulations. A tattoo establishment must obtain a permit and go through the Department of Health to ensure that everything is safe, and this is renewed annually. This is showing right now that tattoo establishments are allowed in the industrial district. If we allow it tonight, it will show an X on the general business. Of course, we still will have the special requirement that one is not established within a half-mile radius of an existing one. Staff recommends approval. It's a fairly low-intense use. It's very similar to a salon or barbershop. And before we get to the public hearing, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
That being said, this is a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open. Anyone that would like to speak in favor of this?
Hello, Mayor and Town Council. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, this business has been a member of the Chamber going on for its second year. It's a beauty shop, and now they have expanded and taken up a second building with beauty shop, barber shop, and then a section of that barber shop to be used for tattoos. Most of you are not as old as I am. Back in the day, we thought of tattoo parlors as maybe something unsavory that we would like to have and would not like to have in our business district. But that time has changed. Lots of people get tattoos this day. A lot of beauty queens have tattoos. So we're looking at allowing this business to be able to open up the second side of his barbershop for tattoo purposes. I have visited, very clean, very nice. They have remodeled, redecorated, and I think it would be a positive thing for our community. Thank you.
Where is it located?
Behind CD's Grill in that shopping center.
I also had the privilege of going by and visiting and taking a look at the shop, and also looked at the tattoo side of it. And they've done a great job in fixing it up. It looks really nice in there, and I think it'll be a great asset to the town.
And I think if you had a child or a grandchild that was going to get a tattoo, this might be the kind of place you would like for them to go. Thank you.
I visited them also and found conditions the same as both of you. I was quite impressed I'd not been in there, and I was quite impressed with the setup that they had. And this is a area, seems like there was a lot of open buildings in that area, so this would be a way of putting the business, adding additional business to Winterville.
Anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition?
Good evening. My name's Ed Reynolds. I sort of hit in the middle of yes and no on this. Only thing I would like for the council to do would be, instead of giving all outright permission to all these places where the yellow stars were, to let them come as one at a time, not as one big overall push for it. I think it may be some other factors that may come up in the future, but if they already have the okayed, well then, that would be nothing we could do. But I would like to see it done on a one area at a time basis. Thank you.
Can I ask Mr. Reynolds something? Mayor? So are you saying, Mr. Reynolds, that you are opposed of it or you are favor?
Well, I'm opposed to it overall,
Overall, okay.
one section at a time.
One second.
Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak, Mayor and Town Council. I own a tattoo shop right down the street from here. I'm not opposed to this at all personally.
Sir, I'm sorry, would you state your name, please?
Gary Nobles, I'm sorry. I'm not opposed to this. I would like to see something similar to what this gentleman was talking about. I think just like Greenville, maybe you should consider having a special use permit for each tattoo studio that tries to open in Winterville. I think that's a good idea so you don't get inundated with them. So that's all I have to say about it, really. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close the public hearing. What's the board's pleasure?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval.
I'd like to ask Stephen a question. Stephen, what would be the difference in having a special? Maybe ask him, really.
So if we allowed it as a conditional use, they would have to go before the Board of Adjustment each time as an application. The Board of Adjustment would then hear it based on the location and all the criteria in which any conditional use is heard, and any additional criteria in which we may throw on the special requirement as well. So the half-mile radius would still exist. We would look at things like, is this appropriate for the surrounding area? Similar questions like that.
Criteria
There-
that
yeah,
the
there's a-
adjustment would have to decide on.
Absolutely.
Does Greenville have that?
Not that I know of, but Brian's been doing the research on that, so that'd be something I would definitely have to check with Brian.
And it would not have to come through this board, it would only have to go through the Board of Adjustments.
That's correct. It would go through the Board of Adjustment. But I would definitely have to check on that.
So the criteria that you had up there before about the other one, it wouldn't apply to this one, this request?
What's that? I'm sorry.
About the half-mile radius and all
So
that?
the half-mile radius would apply to any, if we approved it tonight, it would apply to any tattoo shop that comes to Winterville, period.
That would be the stipulation, that no two could be within a half mile of each other. in
Right.
General business.
Regardless whether it's general business or industrial, they would still have, so even if something is an industrial, then if there's one within a half-mile radius inside a general business, then they would still cancel each other out, or
That's what
the
I'm
future one.
understanding.
Right.
Okay.
For that reason, since Brian's not here, I I would ask the board members to consider putting it off for 1 month until he's here, since he's our planner.
I missed your question to Stephen as to,
His question was, does Greenville have a conditional use?
He didn't know. That's why I like to wait to make a decision like this to our planners here.
These people have set up their shop, about, I guess, I know it was about 2 months ago that I visited, and, they're ready to go with this. I think that to put it off any further would, hurt their business. And I think that we need to go on and approve it. I don't see anything that would keep us from approving it. When I went in there, they had already gone in the other side.
But-
and were the renovations were well underway. They had the screens up for each section. They had the other side set up as a barber shop, I guess. And then they, of course, they're operating their business. And I think that we've been off a month, and that's held up their request. And I think that it's time for us to go and act on this.
But don't you normally get approval before you start the process of building?
Well, in a sense, you would, but in the case of a business like this, with the kind of work that they're doing and the kind of things that they're doing to this building, they may start doing it because they could use it for their other business anyway. So it's not like it would be a waste of money in the business.
And they were seeking a zoning compliance. It's just that we could not give them an approved zoning compliance based on the current standards of the ordinance.
I'm all for business, as a business person. All for it. I'm getting ready to start a business, but before I start on this business, I talked to Councilman Hines earlier, I gotta have it rezoned first. And it goes to his board in September, and it goes to commissioners in October. So I don't do anything until I approve first. But I
But this,
understand.
their renovations could be used for a barber shop. If they didn't get approved, it could be used as a barber shop, or it could be used as an extension of the beauty shop. So they're just optimistic in that they could get a tattoo permit.
and those other uses are uses by right. They don't need special permission to set those up, as long as they comply with the building codes.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Item number 2 on the public hearing is a request for a taxi cab franchise from, I kept wanting to try to, Lena Gailey Transportation Services. This is a public hearing, and with that,
Mayor, I'm going to take that. Mr. Harvey, our town clerk, would normally take it, but he lives in the jurisdiction with which we're referring to tonight, so I'm going to take it. Good evening. Tonight's request from Angela and Lindsay Grimes, and please come up, is they're requesting a taxi cab certificate. Don, that's good, of convenience and necessity.
Yes.
It's been a while. To operate, in our ordinance, it's termed a taxi cab. Mr. and Ms. Grimes are gonna talk to you about their proposal, but they're actually proposing to operate a medical transport business. Not what everyone might consider to be a standard taxi cab business. And if I could explain that slightly, our ordinance it's entitled taxi cab ordinance. We've not changed it throughout the years to a vehicle for hire. So everything that comes before us for a certificate of convenience and necessity is deemed a taxi cab. That can be confusing to some when they're considering the request. But you have before you the packet that has been submitted to the town for your review. Mr. and Ms. Grimes are here. They understand the public hearing process. And with that said, Mayor, I'll turn it over.
I had one question. Do they realize they have a demand meter on their house? This is a business out of their house? Like a beauty shop has a business, their home?
I'll
Do
have
they
to,
also have to have a utility?
I'll actually have
demand?
to ask Robert about that kind of thing in terms of a demand meter, so that's a little bit in the weeds for me.
Don't we need to do?
In other words, you have a business in a home, it's like a beauty shop's in a home, or you have children's homes, you have a demand meter.
I don't know that they have it,
They wouldn't necessarily, they'd be determined strictly on the size of the load that's placed on the
that's what I
home.
thought,
Yeah.
of the demand of the electricity used.
When I first got into this, my air conditioning at my office is smaller than my home. But since I have a business, I have a demand meter on it, and it's smaller than my home. So why do I have a demand meter then?
Yeah, on commercial buildings, they're automatically classified as 1 of 3.
Okay.
Either small, medium, or large electric user. And they're assigned normally a demand meter because historically, a lot of those businesses grow, the load becomes bigger. And it's much more cost effective to do it initially and to wait until it grows and then you have to rewire all of it. So that's why they're normally all placed on a commercial type meter.
The other beauty shops in town have demand. I believe Councilman Smith has a aunt, has a business in her home that has a demand meter. She's shared with me.
Then it would be strictly determined by the size of the load.
What terms of load, size of load?
Normally, anything over a 400 amp panel is, particularly if it's a 3-phase, it's going to go into it. So we'll start at a medium service. That one that's particular, you know. It's, even though you have a residential structure that would have a business operating from within, we'd have to look at the loads placed on it and then determine what it should be.
So if my business, I can have my business reclassified, since it might not use as much as my home?
If it's a business, it's going to be classified as a business.
But they're having a
service.
business now in their home.
A home occupation has not historically rendered the same usage.
Is that part of our policy?
I think Robert's just explained that our policy has been to treat commercial businesses who have, in the commercial, I don't want to speak for you, Robert.
So,
If it's not a primary residence, it would be treated as a business, and it would be assigned 1 of 3 type services along those lines.
So Robert, I mean, but, so in other words, if they doing a medical transport business, and if they came out there and said that I'm gonna be plugging in trucks every night, then they would need a load meter. Because wouldn't it draw more, and when you, on like a rescue vehicle or whatever, charging a generator or whatever,
Sure, normally
So
what
there
we
would
would do,
be
the
more-
electrician would
right.
send us a set of drawings
right.
and what he was proposing, depending on the size of appropriately from that.
But we don't know what they're gonna be doing until they tell us what they're gonna be doing.
That's, yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Sorry,
Yeah,
that was a little more
I
detailed than.
was gonna say, let's hear about what we got going before we have anything about an electrical meter and all this other stuff. Find out exactly what, about the, what it is that they're looking for.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, council members as well. My name is Lindsey Grimes, my wife Angela. My wife decided, she works in the medical field, and she sees on a daily basis the need of a lot of the elderly patients not having the proper transportation or the resources to make it to their appointments in a timely manner or not even going at all. And as a result of seeing that firsthand, she wanted to be part of the change and do something about it. And I wanted to support her with this, and that's why we're here this evening as we talk about the meaning of this business. It's not a taxi cab service. There will not be vehicles stored at our place at our residence. We invest almost $500,000 in that property, and we'll continue to do more. And the last thing we want to do is have a bunch of vehicles coming in and out of the residence and bringing the value of the property down. And I want to ensure that to all my Waterford neighbors that that's the last thing that any of you need to worry about at this point. That's not part of our business plan. The vehicles would not be stored at our place of residence, as I said before. And then as we talk about the hours of operations from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., my wife and I both have other professions. I work out of town. We want to be home during those hours. So again, as we present this to you, Mr. Mayor, and the council, please take in consideration with, and the reason I'm mentioning this first off, there was a poll posted on the neighborhood app that my wife and I come across, and asking the neighbors in reference to approving or disapproving a taxi cab service in the neighborhood. And again, that is totally so far from what we are trying to operate. In a sense, I get it. Had I not had all the information, I would have voted against it as well, because again, I want to protect my investments and my property as well. And I can understand why the neighbors were somewhat concerned with that. And again, began to pass a notice around in the neighborhood to speak out against it. So I'm gonna let my wife Angela speak to the business specifically, but I wanted to just inform you, Mr. Mayor, and the council members, just some of the opportunities we ran up against just prior, before we even been able to get here to speak to everyone about this business. Angela.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The nature of the business is to provide a service for seniors. The senior population is growing rapidly, and we wanted to step in and build a gap to provide proper medical transportation to doctor's appointments. We will also be collaborating with Blue Cross Blue Shield, MedTrans Direct, and other insurance agencies that have decided to come together and relieve the amount of pressure that has been presented on the Department of Social Services. As my husband stated, there will not be people going in and out of our residence. We will not have anything that needs to be plugged in order to provide this service. So with that being said, I just ask that you take in consideration for this proposal, and thank you.
What kind of vehicle are we talking about?
Well, we have a minivan.
What we were given is the two vehicles, and they'd be parked on the street, information we were given.
The vehicles will not be parked on the street. In the packet, it says off the street. It will be parked in our driveway.
On the initial proposal, my wife put this together. You know, again, this was just part of this is new to us as well. We are venturing into something that we're learning as we go along. Definitely had we known that would have created the concern, if you will, it would have definitely been not presented as such. But the vehicles, as I stated before, would be parked, the drivers or the vehicles, the vehicle that would be transporting the patient, it would be parked at their residence, at their homes. So there would be no one, again, coming back and forth out of the neighborhood to pick up the vehicles, to drop their vehicles off.
How many vehicles would there be?
I'm sorry, what was that, sir?
How many vehicles are we talking about?
So currently, there's one vehicle. As we continue, yeah, there's just one currently. We plan to, depending on how well the business continue to expand and grow, which we anticipate a 5-year plan to have in excess of 5 or 6 additional vans, at which point there would be a business building that we would transition to as well as the business continues to progress. The only thing that's being transactional from the home merely would be from the computer, the communication with MedTrans, Blue Cross Blue Shield, to dispatch the drivers on the location for those patients that's needing assistance to and from their appointments.
Would the patient themselves have to pay the fee for transportation, or would something like Blue Cross Blue Shield pay it?
Blue Cross and Blue Shield, MedTrans Direct, Logistic Care, they're all taking care of the financial piece. It's within their Medicaid plans. And also, if you receive Medicaid or Medicare, you should have gotten a letter within your statement stating the changes that are about to be made.
Anyone else have any questions?
How many home businesses are located in Waterford? Steve? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I don't know of a single one necessarily. That's not to say that there isn't a home occupation within Waterford.
The challenge with home occupations, as you well know, that unless it requires some specified permit or something that is associated with the need for a state permit, we don't have the information to track that. So there could be and we anticipate and know that there are home occupations that don't have to come through the town because we don't issue business licenses anymore. We don't have a mechanism for tracking that.
And generally, a home occupation, as it's defined within our zoning ordinance, would be something like a hairdresser is one that you see a lot. Someone who's baking who then goes and sells at shops, things like that. You have a lot of people who may send or receive some emails, or even you or I may send or receive some emails after work. We don't necessarily call that a home occupation, obviously. So a home occupation would be a little bit more intense, generally where someone's coming to get their hair cut at your house, or you have a kitchen in which you have to get it certified so that you would be selling the baked goods.
Stephen, as we're all aware, anyone who gets online at all now knows that there has been an explosion of online businesses where people are selling goods, selling service, etc. They're doing it online, they're doing it out of their homes. How is that considered?
If it's a business within your home, then I would consider that a business within your home. So if you are creating jewelry and selling on Etsy, and that's your home location or that's your business location, I would consider that a business within your house. If you are after work and you happen to send a couple of emails or something like that, I think that's kind of where we have to kind of draw the line. Do you agree with that, King?
I would. I mean, I think it depends on the amount of work and the amount of effort and what's being produced. So emails and telephone calls are a lot less involved than producing a service or a project.
I was going to say, just so we're all on the same page in terms of information, I learned a lot from a 20-year-old daughter where there are online boutiques being run out of this town, out of people's houses, where girls are buying all sorts of clothes. I had no idea that kind of stuff was available. Scentsy, the fragrance types of things that are being sold. I mean, it's amazing the amount of work that's being done online out of people's homes, and I only bring that forward to say it is inherently difficult to manage. They don't come through us. We don't have a clue how much of that stuff's going on, but I would venture to guess quite a bit.
Well, Terry, my question to you and Stephen, and since Brian is not here, wouldn't this be an issue that we may need to change our verbiage in as far as we're saying taxi, but
Yes.
now it needs to be changed, our
Aside
ordinance.
from
we
the
need to be
Grimes'
updated.
request,
Right.
yes, because it's just,
So-
it's a better, it is a more encompassing title.
Right.
I agree, we need to update our ordinance.
Need update. So then, therefore, with Stephen and Brian, y'all would need to look at this again, change it, take it before your planning board, right?
Absolutely.
And then have a public hearing on that side of it?
Yeah, we could definitely do some research on it, and then make a recommendation or a proposal to planning and zoning.
Right.
Get their feedback, and then ultimately, you would be the decision.
I think that would probably be,
Are you talking about for the Grimes' request?
well, I'm just talking about as a whole.
No, I definitely think we need to do
Yeah.
some work on the ordinance
The
itself.
ordinance, right, yeah, to get it correct.
Any further questions?
It seems to me like the impact on the neighborhood would be about the same as a home business. You wouldn't have people coming and going. You're only receiving calls and sending out, dispatching from your house. So therefore, it doesn't seem like that it would be any more impactful than if I sold Avon, calls came in and I go out, that kind of thing.
Any other comments? or
Mr.
questions?
and Mrs. Grimes, you did say that the vehicles will not be, will it stay on your property?
That is correct.
They will
The
stay
vehicle will be stored, the vehicles will be stored at the driver's homes.
at the driver's home.
Correct, yes.
It will not be at your home.
That would not be at our property, that is correct.
So the only thing that you'll be doing is receiving the calls, send it to your driver, your dispatcher, and then they would take care of it.
Yes, sir.
But just for clarification, if one of you are driving, then the vehicle would be at your home in your
Yes.
driveway.
And from that perspective, I think that when my wife put the two vehicles, that was in reference when we had to like fill in.
I got you.
That would be very slim to none, though, most cases.
And in terms of the information that the staff has provided council, you all were provided the exact application as we received it from Mr. and Ms. Grimes, plus the abstract in the packet. So any additional information regarding the request did not come from us. And if I could also state, there's a process by which, I can't see Chief Will Height, but the police department works in conjunction with administrative staff. There are some steps that we will need to finish up. That's normal course of the process. And we would ask that any action you take tonight, if it's an approval, be contingent upon staff's completion of that process.
Okay, any other questions or comments? With that being
Hold on, I did have one question,
Okay.
and I reckon that's, is the HOA president of this, is the HOA president here for
I have
water?
no idea. I'm not sure who that is.
I'm not sure they even, is there a homeowners association in
I don't
Waterford?
think there is one in all of Waterford.
Okay, is it a covenant? King, somebody?
Yes, we are. If they're covenants,
We don't have
there may
anything?
be, I don't know that I've seen them, that
Okay.
subdivision. Don's shaking his head no.
Okay, all right.
I don't know that I don't know that the town has a copy of them.
Okay.
And Keene is, I would refer to
Keene.
the town attorney on
Yeah.
any specificity with respect to covenants.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if there were covenants, we wouldn't be in the enforcement action
Right.
with that. If the subdivision doesn't have covenants, then that opportunity was missed.
That's the reason I was
If
asking
they
the
do have
question.
covenants, we do not enforce those covenants.
No, that's right.
Right. Those,
Right.
again, that's the reason I'm asking the question, because we can't enforce
That's
any
correct.
covenant. But also too, if it was a covenant, we should have had a copy of the covenant.
We get them now.
Right,
I can't
right.
speak to when that Waterford, initially built. I don't know when they
Okay.
came into play.
Yeah.
All right.
It's my understanding, I haven't searched, but just in my conversations today, understand there are no restrictive covenants.
I believe there are some folks who have copies of a document they are calling covenants. I assume that some folks will be standing up during the public hearing portion, then they can shed some light as to when those covenants were put in place.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll declare the public hearing open. You all may be seated. Anyone that would like to speak in favor of this?
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, Town Council. My name is Elisha Hooper, and I am in favor of the proposal for Ling English Transportation Services. I am confident that they will bridge the gap for elderly residents that need assistance with transportation to their doctor's appointments. Another thing to take into consideration is the number of elderly individuals that may have disabilities that would help bridge the gap, and they would be able to be transported to their appointments in a timely manner. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak on this matter. Good night.
Anyone else that would like to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Lucy Anderson, and I live in the Waterford community. And I'm for it because elderly do need transportation to get to their doctor's appointment. And in our community, I don't think their business would inherit any more traffic than we already have in our community. And they're good neighbors, and I believe they would do the right thing with their business. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Anyone that would like to speak in favor? Anyone? Yes, sir. Anyone that would like to speak in opposition?
Opposition,
Right.
Mayor, Council, my name is Ed Reynolds. I live in Waterford. I'm pretty sure there would be excellent neighbors. I don't live within a block of them, but my biggest concern is on the covenants, on the cottage businesses, as per se, on the covenants. They're not allowed. I wouldn't want it to be changed to I wouldn't want it to be changed to a commercial establishment in the neighborhood. I know they're saying that vehicles would be away, but go back to what they were saying. If the vehicles are at their house, the drivers come to pick the vehicles up, the drivers' vehicles are going to be left on the street. It's bad now for cars being parked on the street when trash pickup, debris pickup, street sweeper, when he comes by, can't get to the whole curbing. But another thing they were saying, if the business would expand, that could be bringing on more problems than just the beginning. And that's what we're trying to avoid, is not to have a business operation in the Waterford subdivision.
Mr. Reynolds, you used a terminology, that's why the town attorney and I were looking at each other. Did you say cottage businesses?
Yeah, it's in the covenants.
Cottage industry.
It's in Pitt County also.
And I had a question, Mr. Reynolds. Now,
Okay.
You mentioned restrictive covenants. So you're talking about restrictive covenants for your subdivision?
For the subdivision, yes.
Okay, and now, as I said a moment ago, the town would play no role in enforcement of restrictive covenants in the subdivision. That would be up to the people that lived in the subdivision, if you had a homeowners association, to enforce. So
But everybody was given a copy of the covenants. You know, if they purchased property, they should have been given the
Right.
covenants.
Right, when they purchase, but I mean, and my point is, if you have restrictive covenants that either prohibit, restrict, or prohibit, say, a cottage industry, a home business, again, this board, this council would not, the town would not play a role in enforcing that. That's not what the town does.
Okay, well, in other words, then I would like for the council to vote no as far as the business application.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Claude Mero.
I'm sorry, sir, could you repeat your name?
Claude Mero, there's the name.
Thank you.
I've lived in the Waterford Division for the past 14 years, or 13. And as you can tell, my accent is not exactly south. It seems like every few years we have to revisit this problem. We live in a residential neighborhood and not a business neighborhood. I'm sure their business is going to be nice, but once you have a precedent and you start something, a taxi business, let's say they are successful. Let's say they have 30 cars. let's say everybody goes to the house to get their paycheck. Let's say what's to stop them from growing? If they cannot afford a small office, we have plenty of offices around here that are empty and they're cheap. If they cannot afford those offices, why would they do it from home? There's no need to do it from home. If they cannot afford it, that means they don't have any reason to be in business. They are never going to make it anyway. There are too many problems with giving a business an opportunity. What if later you want to stop another business from applying? You already made a precedent. What if somebody wants to start a termite company? They're going to have trucks in their driveway. What if I want to start a small business, like auto repair? What's to stop me? You already gave approval to somebody. It's not right. It's not right. Let's keep our neighborhood beautiful. Let's keep our neighborhood without any problem, any more crime, because I'm sure the drivers that are hired are not going to be hired at a very high salary. It's going to be a small salary. So we're going to have all kinds of people coming in and out of our division. And it would be nice to keep it residential. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
My name is David Pierce. I'm at 113 Lismore Drive, right there on the corner of Mill Street. I would like to say, first of all, I do not, for the first minute, believe that these points I'm going to raise have anything to do with them trying to bait and switch. I don't believe that for the first minute. So if it sounds like that, please don't take it that way, because that's not my intention. But my concern is that the plan as I heard it presented sounded mostly like a medical transport Uber business, where they receive the order, they make a phone call, somebody does it. As I read over the documentation, that's not what I read. There was, in fact, in the documentation, statement about parking cars on the street. There was, in fact, one about parking one off-street in the driveway. But there's also, it says specifically in Exhibit A, services will include providing non-emergency transportation to and from medical appointments and other necessary treatment services 7 days a week, grocery store visits, and even trips to the many outside activities that Winterville has to offer to seniors. And then also LTS will become one of the best transportation companies in the town of Winterville. That truly is part of the problem. I can see the need for this business. I really do. And I feel like it's something that Winterville needs to support in doing that. My concern is that, as has been stated a couple of times, yeah, there's a good possibility this will grow. And then once that happens, we're going to find ourselves in a position where we have outgrown what this application is. I'm hearing a discrepancy between the plan as presented and what I'm reading as the actual application. I see several points there I'm concerned about. So at the very least, my suggestion would be, let's redo this plan and bring it back when it's accurately portraying what y'all presented at the time that the plan was just set before this. Because I'm hearing discrepancies and I'm concerned about what those discrepancies are. I too signed one of the covenants for Waterford. I lived there for 17 years now. Never expected to, but I've been there for 17 years. And as I did, I dealt directly with Eddie Biggs, and who was one of the founders of Waterford. And this was sold to me, my purchasing into Waterford was sold as being one of the premier neighborhoods in Winterville. That's what we want to preserve. Those, for many of us, most of us, those property values are exceedingly important. And we've already come before, as Mr. LaRoe was saying, we've come several times now defending any action that might negatively impact those property values. What I'm reading in the application, I'm afraid would negatively impact it. What I'm hearing as presented, I don't think would. So again, I'm back to, I really feel like this needs to be resubmitted to more accurately portray exactly what is going to be set up here. And if it is truly a mostly off-site type business, I'm totally for it. But if it has anything to do with locating in Waterford, I'm against it. Because, as I said, and as others have said, in the specific covenants that we were given and that we signed, it specifically said no cottage industries, no offices, no businesses within the Waterford. I mean, it's real specific. I should have brought it up with me, but it is real specific. Now, the interesting thing is that on the copy that I was just looking at with my neighbor there, it shows the page. What were the two? Page and something on the top of it. So it has been filed with Pitt County. So I don't know quite why it may not have been able to. I know there's a 96 on it. If anybody else has got a copy, there's another number on there. It has been filed with Pitt County. I don't know about Winterville. So the next question that becomes then, okay, if you guys don't enforce covenants, who does? We don't have a homeowners association. Probably an oversight when the place was built, but there is no HOA. But there is a restricted covenant that was presented to each of us as we bought into the neighborhood. And it is filed with Pitt County. So who does enforce that? So, I mean, we all came in under the same concept, and now it seems like it's being changed. I think that's a problem. And I feel like we need some kind of protection on that. Excuse me. And as Mr. LaRoe said, one of the very biggest concerns is what precedent are we setting? What door are we opening? If it's mostly off-site, I have no problem with that. If, however, if it's within the borders there of Waterford, I'm afraid we're opening a door that would allow, well, we've got this business in the end, we can also do this one, we can do this one, and none of us want to go there. Thank you.
Mr. Pierce,
Yes.
it is Mr. Pierce, is it
Yes,
not?
sir.
Just maybe to answer one of your questions, and this is just my opinion as an attorney. You talk to other attorney, maybe they'll tell you something different. But when a subdivision forms a homeowners association, that's a corporate entity, and you give the authority of that corporate entity to, in this case, pursue violations of your restrictive covenant. So that corporate entity would be the one that would stand in the place of the subdivision and if it comes to it, file a lawsuit. If you do not have a homeowner association, so you don't have that separate entity, then it's my opinion that the individual homeowners would have the right and the authority to bring an action. So 1, 2, 5, 10 could band together and seek redress of the courts. So in my opinion, it's without the homeowner association, it's the individual property owners that could seek the redress of the courts to enforce your restrictive covenants.
All right,
But the town would not play any role in enforcing restrictive covenants.
So you're describing civil action then, is what I'm hearing.
Correct. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. You would, I think one person would have the right to say, hey, somebody down the street or my neighbor, you're violating our restrictive covenants, and I want to see if the court agrees with me.
I think that hopefully we won't get to that point. I really think, once again, that if we can get this redrawn to where it accurately reflects what they are presenting tonight, I think everybody's going to be happy. But as the discrepancies between what I'm reading and what I heard being presented are serious enough, I'm concerned. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
Mr. Mayor and Councilman, my name is Betty Forrest. I live at 2275 Waterford Drive. And I'm not like some of the people here who've lived there for a long time. I've lived there, this is my second year. My husband and I worked very hard during our life to be able to live in a nice neighborhood like this. And as you know, you've heard, there are no businesses there now. I love the neighborhood. I love the people. I love getting out in the morning and walking around, and one of the things I've said to my husband, this is wonderful. There's no through traffic. It's very quiet, and we do have children. We have a grandson who lives with us. He rides his bike around. This concerns me. I think the business that our neighbors are talking about having is very honorable. I don't disagree with their business. But we don't have any businesses there now. And it frightens me to think that we may open the door to this sort of business. They're talking about it's more of a phone business and the vehicles are going to be somewhere else. But Mrs. Reeves did say that she's got her minivan in, that she said she's going to keep it in her driveway. But who knows that business can get so good, she'll have another minivan. And I agree with my neighbors before me, except the one neighbor who says, let's look at it again. I don't need to look at it again, and I wish you well with your business, but I do not believe that we want it or need it in Waterford. We do love our place there, and we would like to keep it that way, so I hope you all will consider my request of opposition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else, excuse me, anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
I can't let this opportunity pass. My name is Timothy Forrest. I live at 2275 Waterford Drive. I didn't live 13 years down the street looking at this neighborhood, thinking that only rich people live in this neighborhood and we never could afford it. To think that now we're going to start opening businesses. This one, simple as it may sound, is a foot in the door to a daycare next door, to a used car lot on the next one, and who knows what. I say no. It's zero tolerance. I can't say that a yes to this application would be what we would hear tonight. No is the only answer. You know, they made it sound so mild that, and they're good neighbors. They're a beautiful home. You spend $500,000 for a house, you're in a nice neighborhood that I think it's second to none in Winterville. There's nice neighborhoods in Winterville everywhere. We lived in a nice neighborhood before we moved here. There weren't businesses there. We didn't have residents wanting to open up this type of business where you had possibility of vehicles on the street and that sort of thing. So I just wanted you to put me down as a no. Thank you very much.
I believe there was a young lady coming forward to speak in opposition.
My name is Jamie Dickens. I live at 2211 Waterford Drive. I'd like to thank the mayor and council for allowing me to speak. I'd like to speak, have a couple of questions. I'm a long-term care pharmacist, so we have the opportunity to work with, working with transport of getting medications back and forth and dealing a lot with discharged patients from hospitals and the elderly patients who need to get their medications. So I have a couple of questions that concern me regarding the vehicles specifically. I guess the second vehicle in the yard, my concern would be, I guess, is there going to be some sort of track and trace to know when that vehicle has picked up the resident and they've completed their route? Say something was to happen to that other vehicle that's not in your yard, that's in the other, that's picking up the resident from the dispatcher, and you need the vehicle in your yard. Are you at home tracking if there's from the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. time, if there was something happening that you needed to use that vehicle that's in Waterford in your driveway?
So there would be, first of all, there would be a business line to contact us at our place of employment. And we have reserved, not in our residence, but there's a reserve for potential breakdown or emergency situations where the patient, for whatever reason, something happens, that we have reserved vehicle to fill in, to make sure that the patient can get to and from their appointment.
And so the dispatcher would have to come to Waterford to pick up where would they pick up the second van?
So again, the vehicles will be stored at the driver's home.
But that's the first vehicle.
All the vehicles will be stored at the driver's home. The only time, as we stated before, the only time that there will be a vehicle in our driveway,
Gotcha.
if for whatever reason we needed to fill in. And as I said, they would be very slim to not happening at all.
So right now
We
you,
have designated drivers, you can, one particular driver, in your scenario, have a breakdown, they can't get them there, we have a backup to come and fill in from their home or wherever they may be to address the concern or the issues before breakdown and get the patient to breakdown.
I guess my concern is the backup vehicle that's in your yard. Obviously, it's going to have a sign that it's a transportation vehicle. And in servicing elderly patients, are you going to have a lot of times they're going to need handicap access. That's going to require an extension sometimes to the driveway for the ramp. There's going to be oxygen. I mean, when you're dealing with the elderly, there's lots of things that can come up. Your dispatcher could call you and have an incident where there's a behavioral issue with a patient. So these are the things that kind of concern me with the second vehicle or in the contact with you in the vehicle that's in Waterford. That's going to create, possibly an ambulance or something trying to get that second vehicle. All of those vehicles, the way I'm understanding it now, are not going to be parked at the driver's home. If there's an emergency situation where a patient falls, you've got to have that patient safely secured in that vehicle. What kind of qualifications is that driver going to have to make sure that patient is safely secured if they fall? What kind of certifications do they have? Are they, healthcare partners, certified nursing aides? If they start having breathing difficulties, do you have oxygen? I mean, there's lots of things that concern me down the road, with the situation with the second vehicle, picking up the second vehicle. We have cases all the time where discharges, the patients wait 3 hours before the vehicle's able to pick them up. So the use of that second vehicle, I see a lot of growth with multiple vehicles growing because there is a vast need for, picking up patients. Right now, it takes 3 or 4 hours for transport. And when you're waiting 3 or 4 hours, I see 4 or 5 vehicles down the line. But, a lot of times, these little elderly patients with their walkers, they may have a wheelchair. Was there any thought of any handicap access with your vehicles? Because that's going to require an extension or ramp.
Right now, ma'am, we're only transporting non-emergency patients. That means patients that do not require wheelchair access. And also, if there's a breakdown with a driver, they will have a cell phone where National Trans or Blue Cross Blue Shield will be contacting them, and they will send someone else to pick up that patient.
Okay.
We're channeling it through them.
Right.
Because they're taking over the process of just independent drivers.
I guess my only concern is non-emergency, the driver's the one physically laying eyes on the patient. And that's my concern as you walk.
And also, as far as the drivers, they have to be CPR certified, first aid certified. They have to have background checks. We're not just gonna get anyone off the street to provide this service.
Right, I understand that. I guess the main concern is the second vehicle and the projection of seeing multiple vehicles down the road. And the fact that there's going to be a physical sign on the vehicle that's displayed on the vehicle that's, on the property that's in Waterford. And creating some extra backflow traffic if they have to pick up that extra vehicle and the growth, that can come from that. So Yes.
Again, there would not be any vehicles stored at, even if it's a second vehicle, it would not be at our property. The only time a vehicle would be at our property is when we're asking ourselves, assisting or trying, or filling in. Which again, we have enough reserve drivers that would not be the case.
See, that's the part that concerns me, is the assisting or filling in, just because of the need. There's such a need. I see that as you having to use that second vehicle, and I guess that's where the concern is. If the traffic stays out of Waterford, I'm okay with that. But when we've got a vehicle that says transportation, you know, right there in Waterford, you're trying to get an elderly handicapped patient, regardless of the fact that you're saying non-emergency, you don't know when you're dealing with 75, 80-year-old patients whether they're, you can have breathing issues. I mean, you don't know that whether it's going to be an emergency or not, unfortunately. Well, I am opposed to the fact that it would be in Waterford subdivision. Again, we did sign covenants that were sent to the, I guess to the county document, I guess is the 431, page 269. I guess the main question would be whether, they're still in effect with regards to the cottage industries and the business properties. But I would just ask that everyone, think about the growth down the road, because that's the unfortunate fact is I see an increase in traffic for that second vehicle. Thank you.
You mentioned that emergency situations, that's when you call EMS. You don't wait for such
And that
as
would be
this.
right, and that would be the driver having to make that decision, I guess, or
Yeah.
call EMS, because he's the
And,
one making.
The only reason, my son's a paramedic.
You
so-
said what? I'm sorry.
And I say my son is a paramedic.
Yes, sir.
So, with 30 years' experience, so, when you have real emergencies,
That's right.
they would not handle stuff like that. It would be the rescue squad, I think. Okay.
Thank you.
I think we've had quite a number, of people speaking in opposition. I don't see any point in keep on calling for people in opposition. What's the board's pleasure on this?
First off, Mayor and Council, we should not make a decision without a town planner here. When I moved to Winterville in 1989, I organized a group of citizens who did our organization in Canterbury. And the first thing we did was ask this board 30 days later to increase from 3 to 5 members. And they did so. We also asked to change the speed limits. They also did so. But without someone give us advice, and once a person's approved, who's going to regulate it? So it's important to have that person here. This town sent me to school in 1974 to be certified or to be a town planner or a town manager, and paid me full-time to go to school. And I had not practiced that in years, but I do know you put all this money your entire life, your number one investment is your home. That's your quiet place. I own 4 businesses. I don't run them out of my home. They're located in different locations. If you have a business, move it to a business area, but don't infringe upon people's money. You're taking away tax dollars from this town if your homes are devalued. We've already have a problem in the last evaluation that our town, all these homes only increased like $250,000. So the value of a lot of homes in Winterville decreasing, not increasing in value. So if we can do anything to keep from that happening, I'm sorry, I've been where you people are starting a business. I was a public school teacher after I left Winterville back in 1975 and loved teaching all my life. Then I started businesses. And I would not want to infringe upon my neighbors any whatsoever with cars or anything. I'm a block away. I left Canterbury, my son lives there now, and I live in an older home that my mother-in-law, my wife's grandmother owned a long time ago. But I hope we'll consider what's been said tonight. The numbers speak for themselves. Always the numbers of people with for something or against it should be considered. And I hope this board will not take any action without a town planner here especially.
I'll make a motion to decline the application.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to decline the application. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
I see this business as being somewhat like, any business that would operate out of the home. There are so many businesses we've named that could operate already in Waterford. We don't know that they don't operate in Waterford because of the fact that this business is saying now that they're going to do that same thing, that it would not be visible in the community at all. We're not gonna have the cars on the street. All they're gonna do is get phone calls and relay the phone calls to their people. And I think that if I felt that these businesses were not operating already over there, I think I would feel differently about it. This is something new for our community. I know that we do not have transportation for a lot of our citizens to grocery stores, doctor's appointments, and things like that. We have not been able to get great in the area. I know we have a taxi cab franchise that's able to operate in Winterville, but I don't see it around taking people from their houses to the grocery store.
And I don't think
things
that's
like that.
it's not in business.
It's not in business anymore. And I just think that we need some form of transportation, especially for our seniors. And I see this as filling a void in the community. And I don't see it as being as intrusive as, say, you're selling something at your home over the internet. I don't see it as infringing upon the lives of the people in that way. Now, a business with a label and people coming and going, I can understand that. I can understand that you may not want that in your community because your community is one of those that we don't have to pass through to go anywhere except to come over to visit you. So I don't see this as being a problem. I don't see it as being a problem. If we had to approve it with restrictions, that's one thing. But basically, the business owners have answered those questions. That it's not going to intrude upon you.
I'd like for us, if we could, table this matter until we do get further information. I think that we can work something out that for both parties, the ones for it and the one that's for against it. I do believe that we can sit down and work something out if we have the opportunity. And that's where I'm at with it. I think that we should table this situation and look at it a little bit further so we can make a decision. Because, yes, I have an investment also. I do not want my value of my property to go down on any reason, But yet and still, I do not want to lose no business for our citizen that's reaching out, and especially for a good cause. And there is a great need for the cause that they are calling for. So that's the reason why I'm saying I can see it both sides of it. So I do believe that we can do something, and we go back and look at it, and I think we can work something out for both sides. I would love for us to table.
Any further discussion?
So I know you got a motion on the floor, so my question to King and to Mark, if we make an amendment to your motion to table this at this time until we can get better advice from our planning department, per se, if I could add an amendment to your motion. I'm asking Mark.
Yes,
that.
sir, that's correct. It would be up to Mr.
Right,
Smith.
that's what I'm saying. I'm asking Mark, could I make an amendment to his motion to table it till we can get with Brian to have further discussion?
Can I direct us to the right staff people?
Okay.
And it's not to discount Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, and we've already discussed.
Yeah, right,
this.
I'm not.
No.
Yeah, right.
We've already discussed his insight into this issue. There's nothing really for planning to get involved with. This is really going to be, at this juncture, between administration and police.
Okay.
So, much like a vehicle for hire process, it involves a litany of things to go through, background checks, fingerprints. At that juncture, there's nothing that I have talked with Brian, there's nothing that precludes them from applying for what they want to do. It is now dependent upon what, direction of council, then they'll go through a process that's outlined in the ordinance.
Well, then I remove
No, I just wanted to
my
make sure,
amendment. Mark?
So, I'm sort of confused too.
Yeah, because of, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I just don't think there's any middle ground. I realize that, the business is needed, but these people have an investment, just like I have an investment on the other side of town. And if a business was coming next door to me, I wouldn't be happy about it. I've got as much money in my home as these people have in theirs. And I'm sure these are fine people. I'm sure they'll run a fine business. But the bottom line is, we're talking about property values, and we're talking about people who've worked all their life for their home. And that's where I stand on it.
And if I could follow up with, just for process sake, I'm not saying you can't, Councilman Moy, that your desire to table is still not applicable if that's what you all want to do. I'm just saying I want to make sure we have the right staff people being referenced as to who would be involved.
Talk to us, Mr. Counselor.
Well, I think you have a motion and a second. There's been some discussion. If there's no more discussion, I think it's time to
vote.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The motion is to deny the request. We have a second. All in favor of that motion, please raise your hands.
One question. Now, by me wanting to table the matter, I'm not for it, nor I'm against it.
Well, you're at the point where you have to vote. If you don't vote, it's considered a vote in favor of the motion on the floor.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All opposed? The motion carries. Okay.
This does not mean that they cannot look at their business
That's
in another
true.
part of town.
They can look at.
It just won't be in water.
Okay. Item number 7 is the public comment period. Pretty much. Okay. Item number 7 is the public comment period, and Dr. Glenn Johnson has signed up to speak, but before he speaks, the council told me to do this, so I've got to do it. The public comment period of 30 minutes provides an opportunity for residents to comment on any item included in the agenda or to address the town council on any other matter related to the town of Winterville. For an item included in the public hearing section of the agenda, residents should address the council at the time the mayor invites public comment on the item. No public comment may be made during the council during the meeting except during public comment period or as part of a public hearing. Individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and no more than 3 speakers may address the council on a single matter. The town council may elect to take no action on the matter addressed by a speaker, may schedule the matter for further consideration at a future council meeting, or may refer the matter to the town staff for disposition. And copies of this is in the back there. Okay, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Council, Honorable Ms. Robinson and Ms. Parker. As you may recall, June 1st, I became a North Carolinian for 5 years. Glory be to God. Also, I had the opportunity to speak at a brain injury conference in Goldsboro at Renew Life. While there, I met a young lady because after I spoke, she stopped me and grabbed my hand and asked me to pray for her. And so, obviously she had some physical disabilities and things of that nature. So when I got to my car, I immediately went into prayer for her. Recently, I had the opportunity to speak to a fellow veteran that I worked with at the DAV. He was paralyzed from the neck down, no longer paralyzed. And I asked him, I said, do you think God had anything to do with that? He said, of course, because he wanted to curse out the world, curse out everybody. I said, well, you know God had something to do with you now being able to walk. And also, I asked him, did he think living here in Winterville had anything to do with it? The response was absolutely yes, like my situation. So I have continued conferences with state representatives, and particular Ms. Sandy Worthington from BEONC, the Brain Injury Association of North Carolina, and Ms. Tara Parent of Renew Life, because my mission is now to have all these different areas in North Carolina consider, you know, people with injuries or that's in recovery situation, because the response I have been getting is overwhelming. People responded that they feel that the Eastern North Carolina, in particular Pitt County, really improved their life. And I mentioned to them the same thing happened to me. With 56 seconds left, you see, when doctors told my family or called my family in to discontinue life support on me, and said, well, even if he do make it, he's not gonna be the same. Well, you know what? I'm not the same. But thanks to the glory of God, and thanks for being a resident of Winterville, you know, I've been doing better than can be expected. And that's why I want to be to. But talking to these individuals, I tell them make sure that they contact the police and fire rescue so that they're aware of their situations. And I have to do the same thing. So thank you so much. I hope I all got it all out. I'm going to forward a document to Mr. Harvey so you can read up on more of it. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, congratulations on getting your doctorate.
And you know what that means? See, I don't look at the aspect of just being a doctor now, doctor of clinical religious counseling. What does that mean to me? God has blessed me with a gift to bring others closer to him. All I have to do is have faith, trust, and belief. And I'm gonna end with this, because Joel chapter 2, verse 25 states, God can restore what is broken and change it into something amazing. All you need is faith. God bless you all.
Thank you. Okay, item number 8 is the consent agenda. Any item that anybody would like to remove? Hearing none, do I hear a motion we approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's surprising.
I just want to make a comment about our tax settlement and the tax collector and things like that. Something I just learned last week. So this is a result of you sending me off to get some education about how important the tax collection rate was to our applications for grants and loans. I didn't really realize just how much it was until last week. The fact that they'll look at your application and if they look at those things and they're out of line, they just don't even consider your application. So Anthony, got even more appreciation for the work that you and your department does to keep our monies in line.
Thank you. I'll certainly share that with that too.
Okay, item number 9 is old business. First item is the Beacon Drive speed limit ordinance.
You've got quite a duo here with you this evening.
I mean,
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you just approved in the consent agenda, I'm doing an update to the speed limits on all the town streets and stops and things of that nature, just bringing the ordinances up to date. One thing I realized in doing that when I was researching everything, Beacon Drive has 35 mile per hour speed limits installed, but the ordinance, which was adopted in 2007, actually states that it should be 25 miles per hour. The police chief and myself have discussed it and are recommending that we rescind that ordinance and let the street revert back to 35 miles per hour as currently signed and enforced.
So moved.
Let it revert back to 25?
35.
35.
It's 25 currently.
Okay. Yeah, I will say, I thought it was 30.
Well, I think-
So did everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
I got a motion that we
Councilman Moore
approve
moved to approve.
ordinance
Second.
change.
We had,
I second.
Councilman
And-
Moore voted to approve, Councilwoman Robertson seconded.
seconded, okay, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Okay, item number 2 is the water sewer update capital improvement plan.
It was approximately 3 years ago I first created this capital improvement plan, and we have used it to obtain grant money and low-interest loan money for prior water and sewer projects. And it's time to update it. I've added some new projects that we now know about, and I've removed some old projects that have been completed. The meat of the document is the same, the bones of it, and I just changed some of the projects, updated them, updated costs, updated timing, and added the new stuff. For instance, I added the sewer project that we currently have going on, some of the other projects we've realized that we need due to the water and sewer asset and inventory assessments that were recently completed. This document will help us get points when we apply for grant money. And we'll talk about that in the next item as well, but we need council to approve this to adopt this document for us to get the required points. And we're trying to get on schedule where we adopt it every 2 years, because it has to be up to date and adopted within 2 years of every application that we make to try
I'll
to
make
get.
a motion that we approve this updated
Yeah.
capital improvement.
Did I hear a second?
Councilman Hines
Okay,
and Councilman Moore.
Yeah.
right. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay.
And thanks for the personal consultation.
Yes, ma'am.
Let
And
me
just as a note, adopting that does not mean that we're gonna do any of the work in
Right.
it. Just it lets everybody know what we need to get done and allows us to plan of how we're gonna get it done.
Okay, item number 3 is the 2019 SRF authorization resolution.
This is an authorizing resolution to apply for a grant / low interest or no interest loan for a pump station improvements project. We did apply for the spring cycle, and we were approved for 0% interest for 100% of the project. After that project, that submittal was thrown together pretty quickly because we didn't realize till late in the game that we needed to submit that and couldn't try to use some other funds for that project. That project included replacing the Chapman Street lift station, an upgrade to Robinson Heights lift station, and electrical upgrade at Winterville Crossing lift station. After we submitted that application and prior to receiving approval, we also realized and have really started having issues with Church Street lift station, and we need to install a bar screen there to catch all the debris, mostly rags and fibrous debris that are clogging these pumps up. And
Travis, how many times have the pumps gone out in recent months? You don't have to be exact. And how much are we spending every single time we're having to address that?
we just pulled a pump the week before last that had been installed for 3 weeks, and it had cost us $6,000 to rebuild it. Now we're gonna have to spend another $6,000 on it. And with the pump we put in, we just got back, we spent $4,000 rebuilding it. This debris are getting in there, and it's, not only is it the cost of paying the vendor to rebuild the pumps, but the guys have to spend almost a full day down there pulling these are 100 horsepower pumps. They weigh 2,000 pounds. They're 30 feet in the ground. We have to pull them out. It takes a couple of hours to get all the debris off of the pumps and clean them out. Yeah,
So-
it's.
Do you need a motion?
Yes,
I will.
I make a motion that we approve the screen.
Well, it would be adopt the resolution that we
Adopt the
apply.
resolution, all right.
It's for to apply for this whole.
Right, to
battery
apply
of
for the
products,
whole-
yeah.
And we're hoping to get grant
Grant.
and low
right.
interest or no interest loan.
Correct.
Okay, we got a
That's
motion.
my motion.
Was- And a second.
Take it right out of my mouth.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, number 4 is the 2018 sidewalk improvement project.
As everyone has seen, most likely, the sidewalk project is well underway and pretty much completed at this point. We do have a small change order. There was some additional sidewalk clearing and grubbing and pipe that needed to be installed on Laurie Ellis Road. We also had a lot of curb and gutter in Cooper's Point that was failing and cracking and bulging up. I think the concrete that was originally installed was not mixed correctly, and we had to replace about 180 feet of curb and gutter in there as well. In addition, we had to add some truncated domes to existing ramps to bring them into ADA compliance, and this is approving that work.
How about the road on Mill Street, sidewalk? It's time.
That's not part of this, okay, that is part of this project, and we'll probably discuss that in September. We're working towards a resolution on that. But this is just approval of the change order. Any change order over $10,000 has to be approved by council.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
As you all can see, this is the Travis show tonight.
Yes, yes.
Next up.
Okay, on the new business, the Eli Ridge subdivision lift station cost for participation.
I believe council is aware that there's a new subdivision being built by Bill Clark Homes on Worthington Road, east of town, just east of Christ Covenant School. Staff recently approved construction plans for that subdivision. As part of the review process and working with the engineer and the developer, we've realized that they're having to build a pump station to serve that subdivision. If the town participates in the cost of that and pays the cost differential, we can upsize the size of the wet well and the size of the force main and make it slightly deeper, and we will be able to serve the remainder of the town's water and sewer service area with sewer from that pump station all the way out to County Home Road. The benefit of this is we won't have to have other pump stations installed in the future east of Fork Swamp Canal that we would have to maintain. In the long run, it would be a cost savings measure. Also, it promotes economic development in that area because sewer is available to be extended out to that area. We're not asking for approval of a specific agreement tonight. What we're asking for is approval to proceed and enter into an agreement with the developer. The cost estimates that we have are just cost estimates. The developer would like to bid the project with the two scenarios, what they need and what the town has requested, and the town participate in the cost difference.
To move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion?
So this is a public-private partnership.
It would
type
be,
deal.
yes, sir.
Yes, and then once costs are finalized, the bids come in, we know what we're looking at, then we're coming back with a formalized agreement for you all to approve.
Yeah, King would write up an agreement, we'd have an exact number, and at that point, we'd enter into an agreement. We're just looking for a commitment from the council so the developer and his engineer can proceed with that process. He's ready to get started and wants to start moving some dirt.
I'm good.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
Look who's up again.
I thought you were going to say next on the agenda is the school resource officer. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Before you have the current year's school resource officer contract with the town and Pitt County Schools. It's a little bit delayed because we had a little bit of a discussion and a back and forth about whether they were going to fund 12 months versus 9 or 10 or something that another jurisdiction has. They agreed to continue in the previous year's contract and fund it for 12 months. The only changes that you see on that contract are the salary amount for the officer, which changed a little bit because of cost of living and or merit raises.
He does an excellent job.
It has been,
He's a good fit.
it has been hugely successful. Haven't had any negative feedback from our participation in that.
Move
Thank you,
approve the
Senator.
contract.
Councilman Moore, move to approve.
Approve the contract.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Right. Item number 3, the Villa Grande Phase 1.
Council, let me,
Are you looking for that? Are there any berms around that property at all?
around Villa Grande?
Yes.
There wouldn't be so a berm would be required on a, double frontage lot. So as you look right here, this is just a straight road out. So if we had a road that went this way and had lots on both sides of the road, then a berm would be required.
Do we have any rules or regulations about the entrance signs and berms around it and vegetation?
Yeah, I mean, we have design regulations, but planning, that's not something under planning.
Do we have any requirement that they maintain that entrance?
Yes, absolutely.
We do. Is that developer or the homeowner association?
So it would be the HOA that would.
Suppose they don't have one.
They have to have one now.
We have to have one.
Yes.
They sign off.
If they have stormwater.
If they have stormwater.
That's part of our agreement.
So yeah, absolutely. So we are looking at the final plat for Villa Grande Phase 1, Section B, getting some more lots on the ground, which is huge right now. We really need some. So Villa Grande, I'm sure most of you are aware, is located on Red Forest Road, north of its intersection with 903. It's a little over 10 acres, 10.6 acre site. It's a zoning of R10. However, the average lot size is actually a little over 12,000 square foot lots. The property is already within the city limits. The first section of it, as I'm sure most of you are aware, there's not a single house in there for sale right now. This is what it was final platted out, the first section. This second section will add more houses to this area. It's a little bit washed out, but hopefully you can see that. And then more houses and final plats to come in the future. We have received all of the documents, fees, surety submittals, and everything has been approved by staff. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I do. And maybe for Terry also. Again, you know, that's on the promising side of Winterville, west side. I had to throw that in. But any green space would be available.
So for this project itself, this they're paying the fee in lieu of for this section.
Okay.
I know that they have some thoughts in a future section of potentially adding some green space. It really just depends on if it's going to work market-wise for them. But of course, they did pay the fee in lieu of. So,
Is that a good idea? Do you think they should allow the fee and not have the space?
the state, that's a state regulated.
How much are they giving us?
It is, I'd have to look at the figure itself, but everything is set in our subdivision ordinance and our zoning ordinance. But it's a state requirement.
About 10,000, 20,000?
I would have to look in the figure to give you an even close to accurate amount.
Is this doesn't back up to Magnolia Ridge, does it? This part? Okay.
No, this is actually, so do you know where, it's kind of across the street sort of from Denali. If you look on the map up here, it's just, little bit south of Copper Creek.
It's on my side of town, Miss Robertson, if you'd like to visit sometime.
Jenny Redford served in the sixties in the House.
What's that?
You know, he served in House of Representatives in the sixties.
Hmm.
In case any of y'all like to come across 11,
I do all
I know, just let y'all know it's on my side over there. We rap friendly over on that side.
I've been out there.
Okay.
Several times, several times.
I'm just messing with you, Mr. Brown. I'm just messing with you.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we approve this?
I so move.
I'll second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Quick question. You made the mention that that was a state regulation.
Yes, sir. It's my understanding
That they
that
can do one or the other?
that we allow them to do one or the other.
Pay
That
the fee or
that
take a piece of land?
that a municipality has to
Because
give them that option.
Because I thought just a while back, we had tossed around the possibility of not taking any more land and taking the money.
Well, you have so anytime.
Because occasionally we get some undesirable.
Absolutely.
property.
So anytime somebody proposes a site, it is something that council must approve.
Yes,
So
you
let's
have
say
to
that
pay
they,
what they-
let's say that on the final plat, they show a dedicated area that's in the floodway. And that's what they're trying to give to the town. You will then approve or deny that final plat. And it could be purely based on what they're proposing to offer the town.
I think the last piece of property that we were given via a development, turned out to be a fairly undesirable tract. So I think we have discussed the fact that we need to be mindful of what people try to give us, because in all honesty, they usually try to give us their
Well, I mean,
worst
I've been
piece.
on this board a long time. I don't ever remember, not blaming anybody with staff, somebody saying, this is an undesirable piece of land.
I'll say the only one I've done while I've been here was a pocket park in the back of Cooper's Point last section. So it's got a walkway to it's kind of a square piece. That's the only one that I know of while
That
I've.
one right over by my house?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So I think let me just say that you are correct.
Okay, that's good. Very rare that I hear that.
I do.
I wish my wife was here tonight.
Wait a minute. Hold on,
Well, I think we're recording it for you,
Hold
so
You are correct.
Tell her to maybe take a look at that this
it's
week.
even better. Yeah.
Okay.
See how quick I cut that off? I mean, I was right. I don't hear it much. Let's go.
There you go.
Item number 4 is Happy Trails Minor Subdivision Final Plat.
Happy Trails Farm final plat. This is a minor subdivision. It has less than 5 lots, no new streets, no special developments permitted under the zoning ordinance, no dedication of land, open spaces, school sites, or public purposes, or for public purposes. This is a general business site. It's located on Church Street Extension south of the intersection with Laurie Ellis Road. It's a single lot, 1.87 acres, again, general business. An annexation petition has been submitted along with this, this final plat. This is the principal parcel right now. They are proposing the 1.8 acres to be on the southern portion of the site. As you see, Operations Center is north. And if anybody has any questions about this one, I'd be happy to assist.
Any questions? You hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
And a second. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, item number 5, Planning and Zoning Board appointment.
Stephen, is that you? If not, I can,
Yeah, I wasn't supplied anything for this one, I'm sorry.
all right. Thank you, just give me 1 second to find myself.
Sorry about that, I should have probably.
Okay, no problem.
Gotcha.
Give me just a second.
You don't have one, no, is it?
So when we reappointed and appointed at the last meeting, there were several seats. We inadvertently left off one, and it was for, I believe, an in-town alternate to the planning board. Again, I'm trying to find who our candidates are.
Gilliam, Reese, Moore.
199. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Robertson. Okay. So as you know, the Planning and Zoning Board is made up of 10 regular members and 2 alternate members. There's currently a vacant alternate position. The town clerk received 3 applications where these folks were interested in Planning and Zoning Board. And what we've done is supplied the list of applicants as follows, in the order with which they were received. So Garrett Killian, all of the copies of their applications are included in your packet. Garrett Killian, who lives in town, submitted his application on April 30th. That Planning and Zoning Board was his second priority. As you'll recall, our application lists our volunteer boards, and people can number in priority how many they're interested in serving on. Joseph Pierce submitted his on 5/17. Planning and Zoning is his number 1 priority. Tucker Moore submitted his on 5/20/2019. Planning and Zoning is his number 1 priority. The term that we're referencing and asking you to appoint tonight will expire on June 30th, 2022. Thank you, Ms. Robertson.
So I make a motion to recommend,
All 3.
There's only one.
There's only one,
seat.
right.
There's only one
Right.
seat.
So,
After last time, I think Keen and I talked about it, and we may recommend that you all ask for nominations and then make a.
right, well, that's what I'm saying, make
Okay.
a nomination for Joseph Pierce.
Second.
Have a motion for Joseph Pierce and a
A
second.
nomination.
A nomination. for
Nomination,
Joseph
I'm sorry,
Pierce.
nomination.
I make a motion for Tucker Moore. Can you do one or just, can
We
you,
got, wait a minute, we got one motion for
No, it's just
Mr.
nomination.
it's just nomination?
nomination from,
You have a nomination, a motion, and a second for Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Pierce,
Mhm.
right,
Now you have a nomination for Mr.
Okay.
Moore.
Mr. Moore.
okay. All right, any other nominations?
Gotta have a second on that?
Got a nomination, I guess we could do it that way, we need to have somebody
You
to
have a
second.
I'll second his nomination, so we can go and vote.
Okay. All in favor of Mr. Pierce,
What?
raise your hand.
Hold on, how are we doing this here now?
We have 2 nominations.
You have 2 nominations.
two
The board will
nominations.
vote on Mr. Pierce, and then the board will vote on Mr. Moore.
You got one position.
And you have 1 seat
Got
available.
one position, yeah.
Okay.
You
So
got
then
3
you do it in
applications.
reverse order, right?
You got 3 applications.
We got two
We have
two
3
nomi-
applications, we have 2 nominations, 3
Yeah.
applications, 2 nominations, 1 seat.
Right,
Right.
okay.
And then you do it in reverse order, all right?
Now, that is up to council.
All in favor of Mr. Pierce, raise your hand, please. I can't see.
Oh, sorry.
It looks like one. All in favor of Tucker Moore, raise your hand. Okay, Mr. Moore is appointed. Okay. Item number 11, are there any other agenda items?
No, sir. I think y'all had plenty tonight.
I think we have.
We've still got a little bit to go.
Okay, items for future agendas,
I would
same.
like for us to look at the 12 areas of town that have drainage problems, field drainage, at least discuss it. There's 12 areas.
Is that it for future agendas?
Yes, sir.
Is that what you're, okay.
Councilman Moore, along those same lines, staff's been discussing a workshop, actually, which is what we
Right,
need
right.
to discuss that item. So when I say that item, I mean,
In the about the parking space, you want to read it? Parking
Okay,
space.
so that would be a workshop rather than an
Parking space
agenda
cost.
item.
it's just an agenda item's fine. We'll follow up with a meeting.
Thank you, thank you,
Okay,
thank you.
all right. Reports from department heads. The first one that's listed is the minimum housing code enforcement.
If I could, while Travis is coming up, I'll just give a quick update. Code enforcement is currently underway. We have sent quite a few letters out regarding overgrown lots that are in violation, and I think folks have until it's an upcoming date close by where most of these lots have to either have come into compliance or our contractor will go in and cut the lot. So staff's doing a good job of getting those under control. And any minimum housing code cases that we're currently working on, those are in process, and we're not close to bringing anything back to you at this moment. But as soon as we do, we'll be back before you for some action.
Councilman Boyd Street is in that list.
I got you right here. I'm just gonna preface this by saying, don't shoot the messenger on what I'm,
Talking about the Boyd Street project.
yes, ma'am.
You're asking me about
Boyd Street
housing.
house.
Oh,
There's a
I'm talking about
house
the
on Boyd
project.
Street. I think the grass is about this high.
Yes, I think the answer is absolutely,
Okay.
but I will double check.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Travis doesn't want you to shoot him.
I'll start off with some good news. Boyd Street, the DOT project, should be completed this week or very close to completion. And the word is that it will be open before school starts. So it should be open by the end of the week is most likely scenario. They had an issue with some curb and gutter they fixed, and they had to do a little bit of paving work this morning. They took care of that. I believe they've already taken that equipment away, but the road, per the inspector, should be open this week. Now to some bad news on a couple fronts with DOT. I don't know if everyone saw the article in the paper last week, but the Old Tar widening project has now been pushed back to 2024.
Which one?
The Old Tar widening,
Oh.
Evans Street.
Well, they're only 10 years behind. We may as well push it back a little further.
There's three main factors that played into that, but it's really one factor, and it's money.
How many projects did they put off in the,
Pretty much all of
in
them.
the Raleigh-Durham area?
I don't know about that, but in
In
Pitt County,
Piedmont.
every one
I
of them.
will tell you that there's a bunch that are behind, and it's not just in eastern North Carolina. I've
But
been
they have
traveling, and they're
$900 million
everywhere.
of excess money, 900 million.
Again, don't shoot the messenger, but this is what I was told.
If Murphy wanted it to happen, made a phone call tomorrow, it would happen.
The three factors are that these projects, especially these projects in Pitt County where they're going from 2-lane rural roads and it develops and they've got to purchase a bunch of right-of-way to make them 4 lanes. The right-of-way estimates are low and they're coming in, like for Old Tar Road, the estimated cost for right-of-way acquisition was $16 million. Now that they've got 75% design plans, it's coming in at over $40 million. And that's happening on every project. So these projects are going over on costs. The other issues,
How many houses?
I'm not sure exactly how many
All
houses.
those on the far end, is that correct?
On our end,
The far end, between Maine and Cook.
I don't think they're taking any of those houses.
Miss Whitney, no.
They're just taking their whole front yard. But they're not taking any of those houses. The easement goes up to the front porch.
So you walk out the front door and get hit by a car.
Well, the back of curb won't be that close. The other issue is something called the MAP Act, and this is more of an issue up there in Raleigh, in the Triangle area. The DOT reserved a bunch of land for future projects and wouldn't let developers develop it. And apparently there was a court case, and now they're having to pay for that land that they reserved, and it could exceed $1 billion, and they're having to pay for that. They've already paid out $270 million. The third issue is storm damage repair. They had been averaging like $60 million per year over the last decade. In the past 3 years, they've averaged like 225 or 250 million, and they're really having an issue coming up with that money. So not only does that affect Old Tar Road, it also affects operation and maintenance budgets, and the resurfacing that was likely to occur very soon has been pushed back at least a year. Best case scenario, the resurfacing here in town is a year out. That's Cooper Street, Church Street, all of it. Best case is a year.
Could we get a note in our newsletter about what all those stakes on Tar Road are
Sure,
about?
absolutely.
Seems like there's a lot of questions about
And I asked that specific question too. You know, they staked out the right of way. That's what they're needing to acquire from those owners. And I asked the question, well, y'all just staked it out last week. And they said they might not even acquire that right of way right now. They don't know at this point how it's going to impact that project. They may go ahead and acquire that right of way for Old Tar and then sit on it for 4 years, but they don't know.
Do the owners move that wood at any time, or they sit it forever?
That would be a question for DOT, but I am fairly certain that DOT did send each of those property owners a letter already before that was staked, letting them know that that was going to happen and what it was for. I don't think they just went out there and did it. I think they all received notification about that. And I think, Don, somebody had called you stating that they had gotten that letter. I haven't seen it.
I gave them 2 feet in the house in Old Tar years ago with the shovel ready, and nobody else did, I was told. It would be a 3-lane highway back in 2008. I see they let it.
But that was the bad news. Sorry for that. And I imagine that means Park Road is probably definitely not getting paved as well. I didn't ask specifically about that one, but
Well, I did respond to the Shrine Club to let them know that I felt like that was not on any plans that they have in the near future, so we did respond.
any questions on? I'll go ahead and give you the only other update that I have. I got 2 projects. Chapman Street Culvert, we're obtaining easements. We've got 3 out of the 4. We're continuing to negotiate on that 4th easement. Church Street Lift Station Force Main Bore, we are also negotiating on the easement for that. We've got contracts ready to go. Town attorney has reviewed those and approved. So as soon as we obtain that easement, we're going to go to construction on that. Thank you.
Quick question, and I thought we had this, I won't get into DOT with you. I thought we had talked about the speed limits on Laurie Ellis.
We did.
We did. And we requested of DOT to modify them, and their response was that they felt that they were appropriate.
55 there in front of Mill and Downs.
All right, so what can we do?
Annex the road.
I mean, there was almost a pretty major accident in front of my house when I came here today. With somebody turning into Mellon Downs and another car running at least 65 miles an hour. And they didn't see him turning. I was cringing, sitting in my driveway. But luckily, there was a few zigzags and they got out of it.
We can certainly
I mean, that's a pretty
reapproach.
busy road. At one time, it was a 55-mile-an-hour road. It's not anymore. It should be 45 turning off of Old Tar onto Laurie Ellis, and then when you get up around my house, it should drop down to 35. There's all kinds of driveway cuts from my house all the way to the end or to the railroad tracks.
Right.
So you have an option to direct staff, and I don't need any real direction, just give me your insight. We could contact legislators and ask them to lobby DOT on our behalf.
Yes.
Sure.
Anybody opposed to that?
Yes. I'll make a motion to that.
I'm happy to take one if you would like to make one, but I'm happy to also contact them just with a consensus, not in
Please.
heads. Okay.
But we did approach them after that meeting when we gave them all the other
Well, I mean,
information.
that doesn't surprise me. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Get back to the Tar Road. Did you say how many homes that is a possibility if, I know you're saying 4 years away, but I'm talking about just in the.
That
on
the
our
house,
side?
the entire house will be taken?
Yes.
I think it was maybe 3 in Winterville. The 2 just north of Alma Drive are the only, Is it north or south?
Just a handful.
Yeah, it's maybe 3
You say
or
two,
4.
two at Alma Drive?
In the vicinity of Alma and Devonshire subdivision, I believe there was a few houses there that had to be taken.
To the
Oh,
front,
okay.
farmhouse.
That's right.
The
To
home
the
place.
entrance, farmhouse.
Yeah,
I think those are the only ones in town.
yes, that house, the White House.
And
Okay.
the young lady who owns the house, Ben and myself spoke with her earlier this summer, and she was aware of the
Okay,
ramifications of the project.
okay.
Because she owned like 2 of the 3 houses that were getting taken.
What was that?
I can't remember her name, but we spoke with her earlier this summer about an unrelated subject, and she got on that topic, and she was already aware that her houses were probably going to be taken.
Both houses or just one?
She owns 2 houses. She might actually own 3 houses over there, but 2 of them I think were going to be taken.
Can we go back and ask them to do a 3-lane road instead, with the turn lane in the middle?
I think I know which one it is.
You could certainly ask. I don't think that it would not be beneficial to the town because of the traffic volumes to have and also that will cause a lot of accidents. That's what they're trying to eliminate is turn lanes.
Yes.
They do more roundabouts than they do anything else.
Right.
Anyway, ain't nothing we can do. You just a messenger.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Somebody did tell me there was a roundabout at Corey Road.
There is a roundabout,
Worthington?
Corey and Worthington, and my understanding is I don't know if it got pushed back or not. I think it was in the right-of-way phase last I heard.
Cemetery's there though.
It's going to be on the other side. It's going to be pushed towards Winterville slightly. So I've only seen some preliminary plans for that. I'm not exactly sure where they are on that. There was also a project at Rudy Branch and Highway 11. And that was going to be very similar to the L'Oreal extension and Highway 11. I think they're going to eliminate that left turn there, and you can't go straight across Reedy Branch, across Highway 11 on Reedy Branch anymore. You'd have to take a right, go down, and do a U-turn and come back, just like you have to do at L'Oreal extension. Again, I don't know how the funding situation impacts either of those 2 projects. I'd have to find out.
Number 1 is the intersection of Highway 11 and Mill Street. It's the number 1 intersection in the county. It's the worst.
Okay, where are we?
Thank you, Travis.
And following up on DOT's announcement, we also have a couple of projects we're looking at from the electric side. Obviously, one of them is the Old Tar Road widening project. Talked with our engineers and a couple of representatives from DOT today. Ones we talked to in particular, Rochelle Beauregard, who's our point of contact for the Old Tar Road widening project, said that she had heard that it was hinted it may come, but caught her as much off guard as it did us. I've talked with her a good bit. She was really non-committal on when it may pick back up. It may not be the full, according to her, it may not be as late as 2024. It could possibly be earlier than that, but certainly don't bet the farm on it. I also talked with our engineers today as well. They were unaware, but they said that this has happened to them several times, particularly recently, and that they've had pretty good success rate in getting reimbursed. Obviously, we've already expended a good amount of money getting these plans ready for the utility relocation on the electric side. It's nothing new to them. As a matter of fact, we'll be meeting next week to discuss the Tar Road project and the New Territory project, and getting that, well, not so much the Old Tar Road project off the ground and getting it bid, but the New Territory. So that's what we'll be focusing our efforts on now. And in addition, just wanted to follow up on one other item. When you approved the, at least looking into the private-public partnership on that pump station, one reason it's so important to the town, particularly from the electric standpoint, is it allows us to serve those customers we annex out to County Home Road with electric. That's a condition of being able to serve those customers. We have to be able to annex them. So from my standpoint, I'd like to thank all of you for taking that path. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Robert.
He brought his beautiful daughters last week.
And here we go again.
Good evening one more time. With some visions from some council members and a little taking that and running with it. It's not really an update. It's kind of a proposal, if you would like to move forward with it. Our proposal is, or Our vision is to move the existing memorial stone from where it is and our flag off the corner of Main and Railroad. And it's because there's a telephone pole right in front of it. When we have our ceremonies, it's in the street. There's nowhere for the citizens to gather that really makes sense.
How about the stone?
The stone would be moved as well. So I came up with some ideas, some examples of similar things in different municipalities. Obviously, ours wouldn't be this grand, but just to give you an idea of what the vision is. There's a kind of an animated version. Similar things in different places.
Will it go before the house is torn down?
After the house is torn down. And then we get to kind of, the vision would be to actually build an identical circular path and pad as the clock is on, where we would move the stone to that location. The American flag would be centered, and it would be flanked on both sides by the service flags. That would give us the entire market/green space to set up tents, seating area for our Veterans Day celebration.
Chief, we do not have a speaker yet.
The stone, you say, is that the one that's in?
It's in front of the flag right now.
So you need a motion?
If it's the council's desire, I can bring back a more detailed proposal to vote with budgetary impacts and
Yes,
abstract and all of that
We'd
type
like
of
to
thing.
also incorporate the look and the idea into our overall town common master plan.
Okay.
I think currently, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief and Ben, a pergola was planned for that
Correct.
corner. Obviously, this is a different look, a much more meaningful look.
And there are two other corners as well to move the pergola to as well. It wouldn't be just eliminated.
So correct. So if we could just kind of incorporate that and bring it back and kind of show you what we're talking about.
With the cost.
Oh, of course, yes.
We can use a lot of the existing flag poles. That'll mitigate some of the cost. The biggest cost is going to be pouring the concrete pad,
Right.
moving the flags, and then actually stocking additional flags. I know flags are quite a big expense in the town. They're constantly being tattered and faded. So there'll be some service flags that will need to be maintained as well.
Good job, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
It'd be nice to cut these bushes down by the Highway 11.
Yes.
Bushes, I can't see it. Maybe it's a nice sign if I know that. Last time I was at that, it's got me. All right.
We don't need a motion.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll start talking here in a second, but I want to hand a few things to you real quick.
Can you pass it down?
Thank you.
While Evan's passing things out, obviously Mr. Jones is not with us this evening, but as you all have received emails, we're getting close to the end of our land use plan. So we should be wrapping that up soon. Yes. So we're finishing the last details of that plan.
All right. So as many of you know, well, good evening, Mayor and Council again. As you may recall, we had been approached by the Jackie Robinson Baseball League. They approached us asking to join our existing Winterville Cal Ripken Baseball League. So what we did as a result was we ended up sending out a survey. Why did we send out a survey? We didn't want to make a unilateral decision, and we wanted to gain feedback because certainly we value feedback. Also because fall baseball registration had begun. Ultimately, the survey was used as a tool to gain insight. However, the survey is not the only factor to be considered. Talk about the survey results here in a second in the other document that I handed to you. Just want to go over a few points before we get into that. So, would participation of outside organizations in Winterville
impact participation. Survey results, again, provide a glimpse of the impact, but are not the only factor to be considered. Positive impact on participation would be great for both organizations, obviously. And participation growth by addition of the league could spur additional participants joining our league. If negative impact on participation could have far-reaching outcomes, there are a number of leagues, as some of you guys know, there's a number of leagues and communities in the county that offer recreation baseball, also travel baseball. There are a number of opportunities, and again, we're competing for the same participants. As a result, if there is a significant decline or perceived decline, there's obviously potential. At the very least, could certainly change the dynamic and competition of a league. Jackie Robinson Baseball League currently does participate in a Cal Ripken Baseball League. They participate in the Southern Pitt League, which is comprised of a number of communities within the county. If Jackie Robinson were to join Winterville, how would this impact the acceptance of other organizations if they approached us and asked us the same thing? Winterville currently has a few youth sports programs that participate with outside leagues. Now, I bring this up, of course, because Jackie Robinson Baseball League is an outside organization. The leagues that we have that participate with others are flag football, tackle football, and junior Babe Ruth. These programs involve travel out of necessity because we do not have enough teams in these leagues to be self-sufficient, self-sustaining. Incorporating outside leagues into the Winterville Baseball League would obviously create some travel that was previously non-existent in baseball for this age. That amount of travel would ultimately depend upon the number of teams in a league, number of times team plays like opponents, total number of teams in the league, et cetera, but it certainly would happen and could vary. And again, historically, we have not traveled for that age. Again, we have traveled for some other programs, but not for the age because we haven't needed or required to. If Jackie Robinson joined with Winterville, just for discussion purposes, per Google Maps, Thomas Foreman Park, which is the home to Jackie Robinson Baseball League, is 6.9 miles away, and this is from the Operations Center when I did it. So 6.9 miles away from us, and again, per Google Maps, that travel time is 19 minutes. Again, I bring that up because, of course, there is some travel involved. There is a potential postseason impact. I won't get into that a whole lot. I'd be happy to discuss it if there are any questions, but again, I wasn't going to delve down into that a whole lot. Cost to the town. Obviously, requests like this cost money. So how much money exactly are we talking about? So that first document that I gave you is cost estimates for 4 games played in Winterville involving outside league teams based off the projections that you see on there. Projected, Jackie Robinson expects 1 team in Major League, the 11 and 12-year-old age group, and 1 team in Minor League, the 9-10-year-old age group. They have not historically, and at this time do not field 7-8-year-old rookie teams. So I based it off of our 2018 participation because we have started fall registration, but it is ongoing. In other words, it's not yet closed. So last year in fall, again, 2018, we had 5 teams in major, 5 teams in minor. Jackie Robinson is expecting 1 in each, so that would bring, based off combining those projections, 6 teams. So when you look at both of those, the total cost to the town for all games, which would be 10 games played by Jackie Robinson teams in both divisions in Winterville, is $1,745. Again, that is an estimate, a projection, an approximation, but it is somewhere within that realm. And again, that could always change dependent upon the actual number of teams involved. So the participation, the survey itself had 54 surveys completed, which actually I was pretty impressed with. You know, people don't always like to take surveys. And when you look at how many participants we have within those 2 major league and minor league leagues that would be impacted by this currently. I mean, that's actually a pretty good response rate. So I'm going to kind of skip over question 1, which was basically just asking about participation status. Question 2 is, would travel related to proposal impact your child's participation in the league? 41% said yes, 59% said no. Again, why is that travel? Again, we might say, well, the travel's right down the road. But if you've got children playing multiple sports with us, children playing multiple sports here and there, whatever, it just becomes running. Question 3 was, if you answered yes, what would the impact on your participation be? And you can see that there was, most of the people, again, were no, it wouldn't, but the 41%, you see that response right there. Would the participation of outside leagues in general impact your child's participation? You see that there, 72% said no, 28% said yes. Question 5, if you answered yes to question 4, in other words, yes, it would impact your participation, to what extent? You see that you've got not applicable, would not participate, may not participate, and the accompanying percentages there. Then you've got, would you be in favor of or opposed to the inclusion of outside organizations in the Winterville Baseball League? 72% said in favor of, 28% said opposed to. And then question 7 was an open-ended question, and you've got all the responses there, being the last page of the information that I provided to each of you. We wanted to talk about this to gain some direction from council as to what you thought the town and department should do for this request.
Well, for me, Evan, of course, I do the football here in Winterville, and we travel, of course, to Aden, and you know how it is sometimes when we travel to Aden. To me, I don't see the travel distance being any greater going to Greenville as it is going to Aden when we do football. I'm just talking about travel time.
Sure.
Because for the simple reason is I always have kids running up, and I ain't even got the uniforms on. But, at 6 o'clock, I travel from across the river every day home. Now, also too, there's the new bypass that's gonna be opening. So that's gonna take a lot of traffic off Memorial Drive, which is direct shot to Thomas Foreman Park. I mean, but, parents choose to do what they want to do, and, our league is a good league. It's a self-sustaining league. I mean, we can do without, but, I mean, I don't think travel time is something that I don't think people are going to be worrying about, because we make an exception to move our kids where we need to move them at. And, if I got a travel baseball team practice at 5:30, I bet you I'll make it to Thomas Foreman Park at 5:30. If I got a travel baseball team and I got to get from Greenville to Winterville, I'm gonna make it. So I mean, there's exceptions. I mean,
Oh, sure.
So.
And like I said, I mean, travel isn't the
I'm
only
just
thing
gonna put
to
that
be
out there as far
considered.
as time. I just don't like the time thing for me.
Sure.
But I think it's a good league. I have coached in that league, Jackie Robinson League. My son has played in that league. I think they do a real good job. But of course, they got Southern Pitt. They was in Southern Pitt, and I think y'all talked about the reason why. So I'm just, putting my feelings out there.
Sure. Yes, sir.
And I will say, as a parent that has 4 kids in that program, I have absolutely no interest in opening up to play with any other league. None. People sign up to play in Winterville. They want to come to the Winterville fields. No disrespect to the football, but I can name a number of parents that did not care for going to Aden one bit to play football. I can tell you, I despised it.
Sure.
I signed up to play football, and I made you well aware of my feelings. I signed up to play football in Winterville, not Aden. And I feel the same way that our parents, because I've already had a few phone calls on this, and they're not interested in playing outside of Winterville. They tell me if they wanted to play in Greenville, they would have signed up and played Greenville Little League.
Yes, sir.
If they wanted to play in Southern Pitt, they would have played at Southern Pitt. We're opening a door that I don't think we should open.
And that's what I agreed with football also, like you said, because the simple reason is, it wasn't a survey sent out asking us, did we want to go? And I'm not knocking Aiden, I'm just saying there wasn't even a survey. I know we don't have the participation, but if we got enough kids here that we don't have to go to Aiden. Even if you include your flag football, you could turn your flag football, how we got it now set up, the 8 to 10, and we could go more, smaller size and have enough team.
If you're talking about tackle football and its ability to operate itself, we currently and historically, we have not had enough to operate a league of our own. You know, when you look at, say, 3 teams in 8-10 and 2 or 3 in 11-13, you know, I mean, that's not, you're not going to have a league with 3 teams, typically.
You can make it now.
But Winterville football had a league
Right.
for many years without outside help.
Yep, we certainly did.
Who made the decision that you would play Aiden?
So that was made by the town, and of course, again, you're looking at different circumstances. So,
I mean, we made that decision?
And that was
The
the
board?
staff.
yeah, no,
This
ma'am,
board?
no, the staff level decision. But that
Staff.
was done out of necessity in order to make that work. We had to do it.
So you're saying that the only reason you played Aiden was because of the fact that you maybe didn't have enough guys for a team or something like that?
Yeah, yes, and same in flag football. And I don't know how long we've been playing flag football with them. That certainly predates me, but yes, ma'am.
This decision bothers me. It bothers me greatly because, of course, we've got the race issue here, which, you know, we're skirting around. But it bothers me because it seems like all the other decisions that Recreation's made been made by the board, the Recreation Board. I assumed that the board was having a hand in it.
No, ma'am. The Recreation Advisory Board is an advisory board. They're not, unlike Planning Board or something along those lines. They don't have voting direction.
Even at an advisory position or capacity, I could see them tying into this.
Sure, yes, ma'am.
I don't like the survey. One thing I don't like about the survey, it doesn't ask who's a resident of Winterville, which means that you're paying taxes, you're supporting the recreation program. It just seems to me like we've gone through a lot of hoops about this question of Jackie Robinson League. You know, much more than we have any other question about who participates in this.
And if I may, just on that, it's got nothing to do with what or who. It's simply we have not had to do this for this organization. This is the first request that we've had for this. Where we haven't had to.
I have a problem with our image as a town. To me, all the hoopla and all the things that we're doing to make this decision makes it look to me like it's something that we don't want to do. You know, I know that league is diverse. Those children, of course, because it's Jackie Robinson League, of course, we're going to have lots of African American children. We do have people from Winterville that are playing in that league.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
You know, so I just think that it should be a decision made on it. And I don't think race should be part of it. No, I do not. We're in 21st century. I'm a child of the civil rights movement. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to also feel not wanted. And know that there's nothing to keep you from being wanted in a situation. I think that this opportunity, I saw some of the comments here, and I agree with them 100%. It would be a chance to be more diverse. Our recreation program has never been truly a diverse program. And we're moving towards that now, you know, in participation and stuff. But it just bothers me with that. I feel like this is an opportunity for us to show Winterville as a diverse community, welcoming to everyone.
Am I?
Well, let me say this. Race don't have a dag-blaming thing to do with how I feel about it. It ain't got nothing to do with black and white. Southern Pitt could ask to play in Winterville, and I'd say heck no. Chicago, Southern Pitt, Greenville, Little League could come over here. It ain't got a thing to do with race.
Well, that's the way it looks.
Well, if I could,
Yes, that's the way it looks for the people who want to see it that way.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion, and I have mine.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
And I respect yours, and I hope you respect mine.
My question is, the survey, who did the survey go to?
So the survey was available on the town website, and the survey went out in ActiveNet.
It went where?
ActiveNet to our ActiveNet Parks and Recreation system.
okay, so explain who.
Who is that? I mean, it should went to
Okay,
the
so
citizen.
for this survey, it was posted on the town website on two places, on the Parks and Rec page and the youth sports page, and it went out to all of those who are registered for fall baseball because again, they had already registered.
Okay. And it should have went to the citizen.
Okay, if I could.
I'm just,
if I could
Can I?
it's just my opinion.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I understand, but I don't want Evan to take all the heat. We had a discussion. Registration for fall baseball was already underway.
Yes, ma'am.
When this request came forward. We were already more than halfway through? About halfway through?
Couple weeks, something like that, yeah.
Okay, so we already had people registering their kids to play with the understanding that it would be always like it had been. So this request comes forward. It's gonna change the face of the way we've done things when we've had a league that was completely self-sufficient in and of itself. Evan and I did not feel like that it was a decision that we should unilaterally be making because we already had people committed to a program that was going to move forward as it always has. Therefore, we felt like the people that were already spending their money, had previously played, were in our system, that's why they were the people we reached out to, because they're the people that are affected. We didn't send out to all citizens because unless they have a kid in the program, we didn't feel like that we had the time between now and the time that we would need to make a decision to give Jackie Robinson as to whether they were going to play or not. So if there's any fault to be had about the fact we did a survey, who we sent it to, it's on me. We're trying to make a decision in a short amount of time. We were just trying to bring you the best information we could.
I think that we shouldn't deprive any child of recreation, regardless where they come from. And we have already done proved that. Because if you look at our baseball program, the percentage-wise, it's a high number outside the city limits.
Yeah, and that certainly
And
is.
we're not depriving them. We welcome them.
100%.
So I say to us, if we welcome them, we should welcome anyone. And I understand about the traveling part of it. But what it does also, it gives you they bring something with them. You do have the facility, another extra facility baseball field that you can play on. They have something bringing to the table. Even though we have a lot of others that come outside, don't get me wrong, I think they should bring their kids, but they do not have anything else to bring.
Sure.
Now, the finance part of it, yes, that does help us out a great deal. So I say, I do not deprive a child that wants to play in the recreation.
Well, for me, and, going back, I heard what you're saying more, but I know it's not about race, but my thing is, if we're gonna do surveys and all that, I understand that, Terry, I do, but I just want it to be uniformly. Right, from going forward, it needs to be uniformly. If we're gonna do it, we need to do it across the board for all our sports.
I am now clear.
Right, and that's all, that was my concern. I don't care if they don't play or do play. I'm a football person, and I'm just telling you, my feelings are high, and no disrespect to the people in Aden, but I don't like going to Aden. And I said that again, I done said 100,000 times.
And, you know,
But, you know, that's what I'm saying. The survey could be used for a number of things in our recreation department.
If I'm
And
not
I think going
mistaken,
forward, that's what we need to be doing.
if I'm not mistaken, we did a survey for girls softball.
we did.
Yes, we did.
So what we did, what I ultimately instructed Evan to do, so this is on me, is to look at programmatic changes, large-scale programmatic changes, reaching out in a similar fashion as we had previously. You all know me. I understand where you're coming from. And if I'm hearing council saying you do not want those kinds of instruments used in the future, no problem. But there was certainly no ill intent meant.
I don't think it
those-
was any ill intent meant. I mean, and I think everybody's taking it the wrong way. There was ill intent. I don't think it was any ill
Oh, well,
intent.
we've gotten some feedback that there was ill intent.
Right. I don't think it was
That
any
is not
ill
the case.
intent. I think it was just this day and time it's a hot button.
And nobody
And,
bought-
you know, but at the same time, yeah, if we're gonna do that, I think we just need to look at, Mark said, you know, hey, I want my kids here to play. I think we need to look at before we start entertaining other outside individuals. Let's make sure that we got the house taken care of at home.
Well,
And that's what I'm saying. If the people want to come from Greenville to play, and if we got enough to field the teams, so be it.
It was, I noticed they had 2 times that they wanted to play, which was football and spring ball. right?
Yes, ma'am. Those
Now,
are
I
those are the
realized
2
that
seasons we
maybe
play.
It might have been a little short for fall, but I was hoping that maybe we could work with them and have them to play in the spring with us. I don't know about scheduling baseball. I don't play baseball. And my children have never played baseball. Frankly, my children have taken advantage of very few recreational programs here in Winterville. I've participated more on this board than I ever had in my whole life. So, but I was hoping that we could work out something in the spring with them if your fall schedule was done. I feel like we just kind of left it in limbo. We didn't say yay, we didn't say nay.
Well, that's why we're here
that kind of thing. And frankly, I'd like to see us participate with them if it's possible, you know.
I think we're saying it's possible. I think what we want is council to tell us, we want staff to make the decision. We think it's something that you all want us to look into. But again, because of the nature of a large-scale programmatic change, that's why you have it tonight.
On this board, Mr. Boy and I were the new recreation, and I was his secretary. The reason a number of kids do not play baseball is, when I was growing up, I couldn't afford a glove. I played football at Third Street School. You know, I couldn't go anywhere else. There's no place I played, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, until I watched every game for 3 years. I couldn't afford a baseball glove. That's why people don't play. You can't afford equipment. I couldn't afford shoes. I had to have cleats back then. I couldn't afford to have cleats.
Well, baseball has become now a sport that is very, very pricey, and if you can't afford it, you don't play it.
I helped start the minor league in Greenville. I went to South Greenville School. That was my school, and we had to give them gloves to start the minor league. I left Winterville years ago because Winterville had a rule at that time that you didn't have to play with kids, but Greenville had a rule you had to play at least one time at bat, one time in the field. So I left for 5 years in Little League, and my school was South Greenville. It was amazing how many kids wanted to play from South Greenville who did not have gloves.
How many other leagues would be requesting to be included in our schedule?
How many would?
Possibly. Do you know of other leagues?
So, in Pitt County, that I am aware of that are chartered Cal Ripken, or excuse me, were chartered Cal Ripken at this past time would be Simpson. So I'll start with the Southern Pitt teams. West Greenville, Simpson, Chicod, Ayden. Grifton has historically, though they haven't had enough to make teams in the past year, so they've sent their kids to Ayden. And Farmville has kind of gone up and down and changed affiliations. And Whitfield would be the other one. So quite honestly, The answer is most of the other leagues in the county, with the exception of Greenville.
And my last comment is, I just want the recreation department to run the recreation department. I don't want the natives. And I'm saying the natives, the ones that think they, because I construct you a check that I can run your recreation department. I'm just saying that.
Yeah,
I ain't got no proof of it, but I'm just saying that.
I'm not really quite following you on that one, but I will tell you with 100% certainty that Parks and Recreation Department staff and the town as a whole has been here for the participants to provide recreational opportunities. And as far as the resident versus non-resident information goes, you're looking at non-residents are allowed to participate within our league. Note that we are governed by Babe Ruth National, so we do have boundaries based upon that, which is basically Pitt County. However, non-residents do pay a higher registration fee. So residents and non-residents comprise our program, which is why we didn't specifically ask about residents.
Is it too late for them to join the Fall League as it stands right now?
Where there's a will, there's a way.
The answer's no.
The answer is a will and a way.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. As Terry said, no.
We would have more participants. If you do this early, everybody does not have internet connection to register. If we could go, if the schools would let us go into the schools and register kids like we did for the minor league, we'd have more participants. We need to ask Parks, we need to ask the Pitt County Recreation, can we go to school, sit there at lunchtime, and register kids to play, fall ball? I think we don't get enough kids from that school, and they live out in Winterville too.
Well, unfortunately, something that's hurt us in that regard too is that, they used to allow actual paper flyer distributions, registration forms, and things like that, and they've gone to an electronic system. They flipped back and forth between that a couple times, but we are back to the electronic system.
When we use paper, we think we'd have more participants, we had to use paper?
Are you saying would they know that if they would?
Could we ask them, can we go to the school to register kids on paper at lunchroom, send it home with kids?
We can ask them. Like I said, they haven't allowed any flyer distribution, but if there's actual staff in place, it might be a little different, sure.
I will echo again. If you want to play in Winterville and you live in Pitt County, then you have an opportunity to register for our league.
Yes, sir.
I do not want to open the door to any other town or league where our people have to travel because they chose to play in Winterville. If you want to play Greenville Little League, you sign up for Greenville Little League. If you want to play in Southern Pitt, you sign up in Southern Pitt. If you want to play Jackie Robinson, you sign up in Jackie Robinson. If you sign up in Winterville, you want to play in Winterville. And that's the way I think it should be.
Well, Jackie Robinson will be signing up to play in Winterville. I'm asking a question, just asking a question.
No, as it currently stands,
It's not the same league.
No. So as it currently stands, it would be as our other leagues operate, in which the entity themselves would handle registration. So in this case, Jackie Robinson would handle registration and enter their teams into our league. So we would not do the registering for them and bring in that registration revenue from those players.
We're not absorbing the players from that league. It would be league planning, their teams playing against our teams.
Well, it would be one
So
league
then
at that point, but yeah.
what keeps next year from Southern Pitt saying, we won't play with you guys? Then what happens when Grifton says, you know what, we're a little short over there, we won't play with you guys? So now we got to go to Grifton, we got to go to Southern Pitt, we got to go to Greenville. Now our league falls apart because people want to play Winterville Little League as they have played for many years. And it don't matter what color you are, you have the opportunity to register and play in Winterville if you so desire.
Yes, sir.
All we're doing is opening up a can of worms to everybody in Pitt County from the Winterville to play.
Mark, part of my uneasiness with this is because I do want the recreation department or the advisory board to make the decision. I don't think that that's a decision that we should
And-
have to make for the, make
And
for
I disagree
recreation.
because we're elected officials. I've been on that advisory board. I wouldn't want to make those decisions.
They're not-
That's not the
I'm-
function of the advisory council,
I'm
to
saying
make those
this
tough
decision.
decisions.
Well, I do feel that this is a decision that they should make.
It would be staff making the decision.
I think,
Yes,
it's-
ma'am.
I really think it's a decision they should make, keeping, of course, I'm for diversity. And yes, I would love to see you play Jackie Robinson. I'll admit mine, yes, I would. I would like to see them included. If you can't do it in the fall, well, the spring, I don't know what your schedule is. I don't know how far along you are in it. But yes, I would. Yes, I would like to see us out.
Just send them a note, tell them thank you, but.
We were asking for that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a motion. I make a motion that we decline that, the Jackie Robinson League, and any other league that was to send you a letter.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We probably had enough discussion, but I'll call for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to deny, is that the right word? Deny?
Decline. I would
Decline,
say.
okay, decline, Jackie Robinson
Request.
All in favor of that motion, please raise your hand.
Let me get the motion. Now you saying, Mark, you said Jackie Robinson and any
And
other.
any other league.
Right,
Yes,
any
ma'am.
other league.
You got it.
And we had a second. Now, all in favor of that motion, please raise your hand.
I go with that.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we? Reports from the town council, town. Is that where we are
That's
on
where
this
we are.
agenda?
That is.
Any staff member that would
They've
like to
already gone.
come?
They've already gone. We're down to town attorney, mayor, and
We-
council.
Oh, okay,
Nobel
all
Canal's
right.
not up
Well,
there.
we'll start with the council down on that end then.
Nobel Canal's not up here.
That was under the Chapman Street.
Chapman
culvert,
Street,
no
okay.
canal.
No comment.
Thank you.
You have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. Just two things very briefly. Point out to you, we do have a closed session tonight, so that staff can.
We do have one?
Yes, sir, we do. I don't think it'll take very long, but, so staff can get some instruction from council about, acquisition of real property. The second, last thing I'm sure I don't have to say, but I'll say very briefly, we have ourselves a watermelon festival this week. The weather is looking good. We got a front coming through on Thursday, might get a little rain then, but Saturday is supposed to be a very, very nice day. So,
6:30 opening ceremony. Everybody's supposed to be there.
correct.
Since you mentioned Watermelon Festival, Debbie was in here. They will have the opening, ceremony at 6:30, 6:15?
6:30.
6:30 on Thursday, going back to like we used to.
Like we used to,
do
yes,
it,
sir.
Slice of watermelon and,
We got away from that, and we thought it'd be good to go back to that this year.
okay.
I want to thank staff. I know everybody's worked long and hard. Appreciate all your efforts to get us through this week. But it will be Thursday through Sunday. Sunday is sort of scaled down, but Thursday through Sunday this year. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
No comment.
Good night, Al. Glad Boys Street's finished, even though we may not have some little clicks, but it's there. Thank you.
We ought to have a ribbon cutting. That's a ribbon cutting parade.
I don't have anything, Mayor.
I'd just like to say that we had a great conference up there to Electric City Power Service. Robert, you did a great job. Our Assistant Town Manager kept us straight also. Everybody and the mayor, good fellowship, good knowledge, learned a lot. I just want to say thank you for allowing us to have opportunity to go.
You didn't mention that the assistant town manager's children won two. How?
Yes, they did, and we have photocopy of that. It was an exciting moment. It was great. Words just cannot explain it. You had to be there actually to witness how things went. It was great. Yes.
Mr. Hines?
Solid.
And Mr. Hines, you won something too.
You can't tell everything, John.
Okay.
Some things are just meant to be left in Vegas.
I mentioned this to the chief, and I'll mention it in this open session. I had a citizen in Winterville. He lives in Winterville. He's from an old line family in Greenville. Called me, matter of fact, twice, to make sure that I got the information that the interview that was on TV with the chief said he did an excellent job in the way he did it. He said, I just want you to make sure he knows it. So that's what I'm doing. With that being said, do I hear a motion we adjourn this session?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Closed session.
If we're going to close session.
Second.
Whoever you choose.
Yeah, I do.
Thank you, Mike, for coming tonight. How you doing? Doing good. Good to see you.